Hey guys, welcome back to the Kampai Sugai podcast. My name is Gavin, and today I got someone very special, someone who, honestly, we planned to have him on the show a long time ago, and it's funny because it's been like, what, 1.5 years after?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's been well over a year since I had you on my show. Yeah.
So it's been a while. It's funny because there's some people on my list of guests that I'm finally able to like schedule them in.
So it's good that you have a good long list of guests, man. I remember when I first started out the podcast for Hawaii Real, it was hard to find people to come on the show sometimes. And then as it got drawn on, it was kind of more it was easier when people knew that you were kind of an established podcast, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, just send me your links and everything. You send them the links, it's like, okay, I'll come on.
Yeah. It's an interesting well, we'll get into that a bit, but guys, I want you to give a warm welcome to podcast host of the Hawaii Real podcast, owner of Hawaii Real Studios. He's also a cop, so be careful on the road.
Behave, Gavin.
Behave. Behave. Sorry, I'll be on my best behavior. And also owner of Hockey Innovations and Technologies, which we can talk about too. Which is, I think it's pretty cool that you have some patents, which we could talk about.
All right, Gavin. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
But yes, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ioane Keehu.
Nice.
Is it Keehu?
Yeah, man. You got it good. Cool. Got it right.
Okay, cool. But
we only rehearsed that like 6 times before.
So in my phone I have it without the Okina. So, but I'm thinking, no, that doesn't sound right. I have to put the Okina there. So
with my last name?
Yeah, with your last name.
Yeah, so traditionally we haven't ever used the Okina, and just it's supposed to have it, but it's just we've never written it that way, but it's pronounced Keehu. So it's just the red hair. So,
well, that's even with like Hawaii. People don't.
Right. Sometimes they use the Okina, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? What is traditional? What is culturally appropriate? What is specific? So, because it could change the whole word, like Molokai and Molokai.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be Molokai. So when people say Molokai, it's people that live in Molokai know that it's Molokai, not Kai. So
is there a difference in meaning?
Yeah, I don't know what it is though. Worst Hawaiian ever.
Well, it's interesting because I'll type in like Hawaii on my iPad or something like that. It'll say like, oh, it's wrong with the Okina. But when I take it off, it says, oh no, it's correct.
Right. Google's wrong.
Yeah, Google or Apple, I'd say Apple's wrong.
Apple's always wrong. Go Android, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got a Google phone, so
nice.
I have both.
We can be friends.
Yeah, best of both worlds right there, But Io, thank you for coming on the show. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, brother. And shout out to Gavin, and thank you for coming on to my project that I had with one of the local restaurants there in Waikiki. I was filming a local establishment wanted a promo video, and I reached out to some social media influencers to come on and shoot a real quick clip, and dude, you showed up out of the blue. I was like, oh dude, long time no see.
It's crazy because so shout out to Chef Kali. He told me about it, and he didn't let me know it was you that was filming it.
Yeah, he was being secret. He didn't let me know who he was bringing.
It's like a blind date kind of thing. Like, oh, what am I being brought into over here? So
it's a blind date, and he shows up. It's like, oh, I know this guy.
Remember when I saw you, I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because during that shoot, like my head, had a huge headache. Like I was not feeling well.
Dude, you hit it well. You performed. So
yeah, well,
it was good.
It's one of those things. I used to do theater, so whenever I tell people whenever I go on stage performance mode, that's when I can do it.
That was performance mode, Gavin. I definitely got to see that. That was not the other Gavin, the kind of calm and collected Gavin. It was kind of like the wild, eccentric Gavin.
When I go into performance mode, bless you. I'm sorry if anybody can hear.
Yeah, she's allergic to me. I don't know.
But yeah, if people like they know me, like I can be I can be wild, crazy Gavin, like regular Gavin, right? That's my normal if I drink or something like that. But like performance mode Gavin is a little different because, there's certain lines and stuff like that. Especially if I'm like doing a script and stuff.
Sure.
I won't remember a lot of it or even be really good in the practice.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get on stage or when I have to perform in front of a camera or something like that, I'm on.
So you're just a natural at that.
It's just, I don't know what it is, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's natural or I think I just black out because sometimes I don't remember anything. Black out completely. And then it's like
and then you wake up and everybody's clapping, cheering, and you're just like, yeah, I did that, yeah.
Yeah, like no, that happened. Like that happened before where I would
Gavin.
perform something and then like I get off the stage and they're like, oh wow, you did such a great job, and I was like, what did I do? I really don't know what I did.
You gotta watch the replay. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like the difference between like ludicrous mode,
Yes.
Tesla, and regular mode. So yeah.
Oh, for Tesla. So you said ludicrous mode. You know where that comes from, though, right?
What is that? Where does it come from?
Spaceballs.
Oh, for real?
You never saw Spaceballs?
Wait, that's why it
That's where ludicrous speed.
interesting.
Yeah. Oh, you have to go back and watch Spaceballs.
Oh, I have to go watch
Yes.
it now.
Especially now that Star Wars is becoming more and more of a thing. They're coming out with a lot more movies and shows like that. It's always good to go way back to, what was it, the mid 80s or something like that when
Yeah.
Spaceballs came out.
Yeah,
There was some
yeah.
funny stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're a big Star Wars fan too.
I
yourself.
am. I love it. Mandalorian for life.
What did you think about So did you watch Bad Batch?
So I'm slowly catching up on Bad Batch, the cartoon series.
What'd
So far, I like it. I think I just started season 2,
Okay.
but I watch it here and there when I have time, sometimes with the kids. So
What did you think about season 1?
I liked how it filled in a lot of gaps as to what happened after Order 66. That was from not just like a galactic point of view, but also like a specific individual point of view. Like what happened galaxy wide with the Purge, and now you have this little group of characters, these clone troopers that are directly being affected by that and all this other stuff, and then they go off and be like their own little mercenary gang, not mercenary gang, but guns for hire kind of thing.
Yeah, they're Guns for Hire clan. You know what I mean? But they're kind of like I kind of think of them as like their own Mandalorian group. In a way,
Yeah,
too.
absolutely, and they could be, because they have the pedigree, So
It's just they take their helmets off, so it's a little. Well,
I'm still confused. I don't know with Mandalorian series if that's going to be a long-term thing, or if that's maybe I got to look up my history more about. Did the Mandalorians always do that, and it's only the recent Mandalorians that started taking off their helmets, or was it a long time traditional thing where they kept their helmets on?
that must have been a long time thing. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, just for people, but
Killing me.
but it's maybe they're Neo Mandalorians, and then
Yeah.
there's the original
there's two
traditional.
there's two different types of I guess thoughts on it: the traditional versus the progressive. So conservatives and liberals.
I was just thinking, that's there's like the traditional conservatives, and then there's like neo-conservatives.
Right. But with the series, at the end of the day, they all kind of came together. So
That's true. Yep. Spoilers. They all.
man, if you haven't watched it yet,
Yeah, you gotta check it out. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, by the time this comes out, they probably won't have watched the season finale stuff. But so actually, I kind of want to talk about that season finale because it's called The Return,
yes,
right?
yes.
And I'm still waiting for the return of something.
Well, it's the return of the Mandalorians to their planet.
I got that point, but I was thinking so I was expecting like some big thing to return.
Like Luke Skywalker coming back or something.
Well, maybe not Luke Skywalker, but like maybe another character.
What did you think?
I was thinking maybe Thrawn or something, or maybe
Right.
Ezra. I don't know.
I know they're setting up Thrawn and Ezra. Ezra too. I know Thrawn
Ezra
for the
maybe.
Ahsoka series coming out.
I think Ezra. They got the actor, so it's the guy that played Aladdin.
Oh, good.
Yeah, in
I see that.
the live action. Yeah. So,
Right.
So I'm waiting for some kind of return. You know.
Thrawn's return should be good.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite characters growing up because I read the books when they first came out, Heir to the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And when they wrote Thrawn in, he was just so different from the stereotypical Imperial. And, stereotypical Imperial, they're kind of obnoxious, arrogant, sometimes stupid, or what do I want to say? Like, their arrogance just overtook their tactics and their strategies and everything. So they just thought they were thought they were better. And here comes this character Thrawn, who is not human, which is different from all the other Imperials.
Right.
All the other Imperials we had seen in the trilogy were all human, right, for the most part. And then you have Thrawn, who's this Grand Admiral, and he's not human. And he's not arrogant. He researches his enemies. He goes through their art, their poetry and stuff like that in order to understand his enemies better. So when you hear about stuff like that and that kind of character, I was just like, wow, that was awesome. And then years later, they go, Disney makes a decision to get rid of all the books and say that those are now legend. I was like, what? That's like so much great content there. And then they slowly started bringing characters and information back in the cartoon series and stuff like that. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that they brought it back because there's a wealth of great, magnificent content in those books that was kind of just thrown away.
Yeah.
As seen as non-canon type stuff.
Yeah. Because there was we were having, Kelsey and I were having a discussion the other day. We were at Gen, right? And I was like, why don't they put in like a lightsaber that was like a
Is
whip?
it Gen or Jen?
I think it's Gen.
Is it Gen? Jen. I've been calling it wrong this whole time.
Maybe.
The Korean barbecue place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's both actually. I don't know.
Or maybe it's like a soft G and it's like yen, and we're all wrong.
Maybe it's Han, and it's completely different. But yeah, we were at Gen, and then over there we were talking about like different lightsabers. I was like, why don't we have a lightsaber that's like a whip or something? You know what I mean? Or like certain thing. And then she was like, oh, maybe that's in Legends. You know what I mean?
That'd be insanely dangerous.
It would be.
Yeah.
Especially
I know in Legends, I remember there being like a lightsaber that one dude had that would just extend and extend and extend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was a Pinocchio lightsaber.
Yeah, it was like
whenever he lied, it just grew along.
Just he turned it a certain way and it got longer.
Wow. Oh, so it's like a chapstick, and so it's extending.
Yeah.
Or a glue stick. It's a glue stick.
Yeah, or a little lipstick thing. Yeah,
lipstick lightsaber right there. Oh,
yeah, they had some cool stuff. They had some really cool stuff.
But yeah, like especially so what did you think about the sequels, right? Because so I will say for me the Force Awakens, I thought was a good start.
That was a great start.
It was a great start. And then they lost me after the next two.
Yeah.
But I will say that Force Awakens was really good.
Yes, I agree. They set up a really good premise to continue on with the next two movies, and they just kind of dropped the ball on a lot of things that they built up and had a great foundation with the Force Awakens. Yeah,
it was like one of those the Force Awakens had a good balance. They had new characters, nostalgia. They kind of tied it in really well, and kind of like what Top Gun Maverick did, right? They tied in that
there's a lot of tying in together.
That nostalgia in, right? But then I'm like, well, now it kind of opens it up for like new things, and then I didn't realize the new things that we got were something that I didn't really want.
How do you go from these First Order Stormtrooper that had that whip baton, that electric baton? That was the coolest scene ever. There's all these lightsaber fights and everything that are great, but a Stormtrooper with that baton and whipping it around and going after, what's his name?
Finn
with it. That was super awesome. Cool. It was like, you have a normal dude just a normal Stormtrooper dude, just going after and being badass. And I kind of like seeing Stormtroopers be badass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been like that. I remember that moment, and I was like, wow, like I've never seen like a stormtrooper just like, oh, they just have their little blasters,
And they
right?
miss everything,
And
and
they
then they
miss
get killed,
everything.
and it's like, oh god.
It's like, oh, there they go, they're wimps, right? But then you get this one guy that just comes out swinging
Yeah,
against Finn, and I'm like, that's what we need to see.
yeah.
We need to see like well trained guys. That's the first order,
And he beat Finn, and then he got blasted.
and then he got blasted.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was kind of cheap shot, man. It's like, well, dude, come on, man.
But see, they're represent first order, right? They're more well trained. They're
Yeah. Well, in that movie, and
In
then
that movie.
the following movies, you just have these guys running through the hallways, just blasting them, blasting them, blasting them, blasting them. And it's like, are these stormtroopers completely inept? Like, there's like such a drop off from what they were in the first. And the Force Awakens, especially with that landing scene where they land, the doors come down, and they rush out there, D-Day style kind of thing. That was really cool.
And then the Force went back to sleep after. And
Yeah,
then,
I don't know.
and then the Force became dormant in the last movie.
There was no Jar Jar Binks, so that was good. That was good.
No, I was waiting for him to come out, as the Sith Lord. I was waiting for like, Misa, and all of you
God,
Jedi.
No, stop. No. But they had the Jar Jar Binks actor in
Andy
Mandalorian.
Serkis. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Jar Jar
well-
Binks.
Was it Andy Serkis?
I don't know his name. No, Andy Serkis did Snoke.
Oh, he did Snoke. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a black actor, and they made him a Jedi that was saving Grogu in one of the flashbacks.
Oh, yeah,
in Mandalorian.
okay.
Spoiler alerts if you haven't.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen that one.
I did. So that's the guy that. Oh, okay.
So yeah, the Jedi with the two lightsabers that goes
Right.
through and kills a bunch of clone troopers in the temple and
temple.
rescues Grogu. They jump into the speeder and they
speeder.
speed away. That's the actor that played Jar Jar Binks.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Interesting.
So they kind of gave him his own little good come to Jesus cameo, kind of. Because before that, a lot of people were hating on him for the character, and it's like, dude, it's not the actor's fault. Like, Jar Jar Binks stinked because the director,
the director
like, made him like that. It's like,
and the writer, the people that write, written him in, and they gave him those lines. And
right. George Lucas was like, oh, this character's for kids. I'm like, no, my kids hate him. Like, they don't want that.
they wanted action figures so kids could rip them apart. You know what I mean?
I guess.
So
you got to have something to throw to the dog. They make a great squeaky toy.
But Star Wars is so crazy like these days, especially like they have Disney Plus. They have all these different series, different streaming options. Like I still think Netflix is probably the best. That's my go-to. I still think like just because not because of the content, but it's because of the actual service and the quality of what's being produced. Because the thing about like Disney Plus is I'll play an episode and it shuts off every time almost.
Am I right or wrong? When Netflix releases their series, they release the entire series most of the time, right?
Yes, yeah.
Whereas Disney Plus will make you wait a week. I'm like, guys, I'm paying money for this. I just want to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. Or people just want to binge it. Like
I don't
Cobra Kai
want
or
to
something.
like have to set aside specific nights out of the week just to catch it. Like Game of Thrones was. You had to wait and wait and wait. So I do like when they came out with Stranger Things. It's just like the whole season, boom, right there. You could binge it if you wanted to. I like that about Netflix.
And they just have good options to like. It just feels a little bit more organized.
Yeah.
Especially like it's easier to navigate. Like with Disney Plus, I feel like it's a little hard to just kind of find a series that you want to see, like something from Marvel or something, and then they put like here's the timeline for the Marvel series, and I'm like, no, I just want to get to what I just want to get to. You know what I mean? Like
I just want my TV to work.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself ever watching cable anymore?
No.
Yeah.
I don't have cable now.
I rarely do. It's like if there's maybe a news thing that I want to watch or a game like the Super Bowl or something like that, maybe. But I don't watch cable.
Speaking of sports, so little known fact about people is you were someone who big fan of hockey.
Yes.
Right. You actually were you started playing at age 15.
Yeah, so I started playing hockey in Mililani shout outs to all the Mililani hockey guys. They're still rolling out there.
Oh, okay, cool.
The rinks out there in Mililani. It was just, we would play at basketball courts and stuff, and they organized, a bunch of parents got together with their kids and organized an actual legitimate league out there, and just in Mililani. And it kind of spread to other neighborhoods a little bit. And I played there from the time I was maybe, I think it was the end of my sophomore year until I graduated high school. And then I went off to UNLV and continued playing hockey for UNLV up there. It was completely different, playing indoors, nice rinks and stuff like that. So, but I got to play for the school, and that was fun.
What was your favorite moment during those high school days with, playing street hockey?
The high school days, street hockey, we actually got to travel to Big Island and Kauai to play mini tournaments over there in the outer islands. And I really liked that because that was the first time I had actually traveled with a team, number one, and just all these good hockey loving people, the kids and their families traveling together and meeting these other people from the outer islands. And one of the tournaments we hosted here on Oahu, where we had teams from Kauai and the Big Island come, and they actually didn't want to stay at hotels, so we actually had them room with the players' families that lived here. So they kind of split up, hey, can this family take one or this family take two? So we actually had two players from Kauai come and stay at my house, and got to make lifelong friends. And one of those guys actually ended up going to UNLV and playing hockey for a little bit out there. Yeah.
Did you get to help them train? Like maybe teach them like certain things?
No, actually, we didn't need to. The Kauai team was dominant.
Oh, okay.
They're just guys out there that were, either adults or whatever, had grown up in the mainland and playing hockey, and now they're living in Hawaii. And all of a sudden, these kids want to start up a street hockey thing, a roller hockey thing, and now you have these coaches that actually know what they're talking about and know what they're doing to teach these kids. And here in Mililani, we had like hardly any adults that knew what they were doing. A lot of them were just dads that had never seen an actual hockey stick before this. Now we'd fly teams out to Oahu and they would dominate. It was kind of funny. We thought we were badass, and then these guys come and wipe the floor with us. Yeah. So all good experiences.
Yeah, it's a good learning experience too, because you think like in Hawaii we're so limited by who we can play or even how far we can go, especially if you want to take a whole team to the mainland and you really want to do like a whole road trip just to practice against different teams. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so that's actually what happened as the years went on, where the teams here would travel to the mainland after practicing at the rinks. Either there's one rink in Mililani and there's one rink in Hawaii Kai, and those are legit hockey rinks with boards and fences and stuff around them. But these teams would travel to the mainland and get smashed. And so one of the dads at the time, Richard Pentecost, he actually, wealthy landowner, his son, I think he had two sons that played, was fed up with it. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to get some investors and find some land, and we're going to build our own indoor rink, and it's going to be the best rink in the country. That was his goal. He set out to do that. And within a couple of years, they had built the Kapolei inline hockey arenas.
Wow.
So it's a big, nice indoor hockey arena with two rinks inside of it, not just one. And state-of-the-art facility, keeps it clean. And nowadays, you can go there and do like skates. Like Ice Palace has the open skates and stuff with the music playing and stuff. So they have that on Saturdays and Fridays and stuff like that, so people can go and roller skate on Kapolei now. But what had happened was the kids here in Hawaii were starting to play more and more and more and more, and they had this great facility, and you have kids playing 4 or 5 times a week. I don't care where you're from, but if you play any sport that often or more over the course of a year or 2 years, 3 years, you're going to get good.
Yeah.
So now we have teams from Hawaii traveling to the mainland kicking ass.
Nice.
And teams from the mainland travel to Hawaii and get beat. The first tournament we had here at the Kapolei inline hockey arenas, this huge group, huge club from the mainland brought a bunch of different age level teams here to Hawaii, and they all got smashed. They left here
Wow.
without a single medal.
Wow.
And it was the Hawaii teams that were smoking them. And so that team never came back because they don't want to spend all the money and invest all this money on this trip and just to get
And
smashed.
to get smashed.
Right.
But it's good. I will say it's good. A good learning experience for them at least too, because it's not like, oh, like Hawaii is an easy team anymore. You know, like the Hawaii teams
Right.
are easy. It's
Because that's
like,
what they thought it was going to be. It's like, oh, Hawaii hockey? What do they know?
oh, vacation hour.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an easy game. But then no, that's good because that means that Hawaii's caught up in a way.
Yeah.
You know,
As far as roller hockey, Hawaii has definitely caught up with almost anywhere on the mainland. Yeah, we take teams, and I mean, we have a smaller pool of players, so we're not going to get like the very best athletes that the islands has to offer. But for the guys that do play hockey, they play a lot, they get good, and they're able to travel and compete pretty well.
correct me if I'm wrong, but your kids play too, right?
No,
or they don't play.
They didn't want to play hockey, so they ended up playing lacrosse, and now my
that's
youngest
right.
is playing volleyball.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
What position in volleyball?
He's a setter.
Oh, he's a
Yeah,
setter. Wow, very
In
important.
7th grade, so still learning and still getting introduced to the sport.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of volleyball. That's what I played. That was my sport.
It's a good, fun sport to watch. It's a good team-based sport. You really have to know how to communicate with people. And,
Yes.
and get over your mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing with volleyball that I've seen is getting over your mistakes. Because everybody, no matter how good a player you are at whatever team level, they're going to make mistakes, or they're not going to be able to get a ball, or they're
Yeah.
just not going to be able to perform perfectly with every single rally. Is that what they call them?
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, like especially if you miss, and it's like, you know, you have a really good rally going on, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is the one that's gonna make it, but then you miss, and then it really, as a player, it's really it's depressing because it's like, oh damn, I missed the shot. But then it's also for the team to really rally behind the player as well. So to lift them up and encourage them, like, yeah, it's okay, it's just one player, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned too when I was playing volleyball, right? About really building people up, and also really getting past certain moments, especially if you screw up,
Yeah.
because it's brutal if you screw up.
Yeah, it can be really brutal, and it's for your team to keep motivating each other, because everybody on that team is going to mess up somewhere along the line. Like if you're playing volleyball, from what I've seen, and you don't mess up, it's probably because you're not touching the ball. So the players who are touching the ball a lot, they're just trying to keep their percentages up, and so from that aspect, I really do enjoy watching volleyball and having my kid in volleyball, because I think there's a lot of positive reinforcement and teamwork that comes out of that. A lot of cooperation.
Yeah, it's fun. It's super fun.
It's fun to watch.
I think for me, when we were playing volleyball, we would always rotate positions. So none of us were completely the center. We would always rotate. So we all had a chance to be a setter or a libero or server,
Yeah.
ace server as well. My specialty was more serving. So I was a good server. Or libero. I was an okay setter. I didn't like being in the front as much, just because for blocking and stuff like that too. I didn't really want to be in that position. But like libero and stuff, I liked receiving it and really calling out the plays. Like, oh, someone call out the
Very
ball,
cool.
or just serving, because then it's just kind of just me and the court at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are my things. But
Yeah, I never got to actually play volleyball, really. So, but I just, as a parent now, I got to learn the whole game. Same like lacrosse. My kids are playing lacrosse. I never really played lacrosse. I dabbled. We had sticks as kids, and just kind of threw at each other. But
you battle each
we never knew the rules or anything like that. We just well, what happened in Mililani playing hockey is when it would rain at the outdoor rink, you couldn't play hockey anymore. So eventually, we just started picking up lacrosse sticks, because you're wearing basically like
Basically
the
the
same
same
stuff,
thing, yeah.
except instead of rolling around on roller skates, you put on your tennis shoes or cleats and you go out in the grass right there,
Right.
and you start keep the game going. So,
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like like air hockey, I guess, or like aerial hockey. Not like
yeah, it's It's its own thing.
It's its own thing.
It's a hybrid of a lot of different sports.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but fun, and what I like about lacrosse is there's not a whole lot of rules as far as how the
really?
game plays.
Okay.
Like football has an insane amount of rules, not just safety rules, but like how the game is played. There's a ton of rules. It's insane. Lacrosse doesn't have that.
Really?
Lacrosse is just pick up the ball with your stick. You have to keep it in your stick. You can run it down or pass it. Either way, forward, backward, sideways, upside down, whatever, and throw it in the net. And the only real rules are, besides safety rules, is an offsides. And the offsides is you have to have a certain amount of people in your defensive zone, and you're allowed then to have the rest of your people in the offensive zone.
Oh, interesting.
That's it. And keep the ball in bounds.
That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
and just use your stick. Don't pick it up with your hands. It's like, that's it.
So how does the fouls work in lacrosse?
There's fouls around like safety stuff, like getting
Yeah.
hit in the head or
Right.
whacking somebody too hard or coming out with like the way that you hit with your stick and stuff like that. If you're coming down like an axe on someone. So most of the fouls there revolve around specifically safety stuff. Yeah.
Is it like a free pass or like from the outside, like kind of like basketball? Like
Yeah, you just get the possession of the ball, and the other
interesting.
team has to give you like 5 or 10 yards of space, and then you can either run it in or throw it in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's easy. It's easy to watch. It's easy to learn. It's not that it's difficult to master, especially like carrying and throwing and passing and
Yeah.
catching the ball. Difficult, but not impossible. If you can catch a baseball with a mitt, you can catch a lacrosse ball with a stick.
Really?
Yeah, it's that intuitive.
I could imagine it could get pretty physical, especially if they're really
yeah.
battling for
It does.
position.
And in the past, it was a lot more physical. Like you would see football type hits. But nowadays, as the rules have progressed and safety and concussions have come into the limelight more and more, it's even the rules have kind of changed with regards to when you can hit someone, how hard you can hit someone. Like if you just run someone over, even if they have the ball, they might call you. Like they might call a penalty or something for that. And penalties in lacrosse, especially safety regarding penalties, it's kind of like hockey where the player that committed the infraction has to go sit out for a specific time period, like 1 minute or 2 minutes or whatever. And then they can come back in after the time.
Is there a certain amount of so like basketball, like if you get fouled 5 times, you're ejected from the game, kind of thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Not like a red card or no, nothing like that.
Interesting.
You can get ejected from a game just like hockey.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
No. Well, like hockey, you can have as many penalties. You can get as many penalties as you want
yeah, I didn't know
until your
that.
coach benches you, But yeah, you don't get kicked out of the game. Yeah, you can get sent to the box like 4, 5, 6 times during a game.
So is that why they just throw out their mitts and then they start brawling?
Yes. Yes. I love hockey fights.
I love hockey fights too.
Like, yeah, you go to a boxing match and a hockey game breaks out.
They're so sloppy sometimes because it's like dancing.
They're on skates.
They're on skates.
They're on skates and they're big dudes.
Yeah,
That's why they let
pads
them
are
fight.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they continue to let them fight. And there's rules around how hockey fights are done. And
Really?
when you watch a hockey fight, you can see there's like the referees are standing around watching to make sure, hey, if anything goes wrong, safety wise, we get in there and we stop. Yeah.
So they're kind of
as
like
soon as somebody goes down on the ice, the fight's got to stop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like MMA coaches, or they're MMA referees, right?
Yeah, no, it's like MMA referees. So they
Yeah.
actually get in there and they're actually trained to know when to stop a fight, when to break it up, and when to just let the guys go. And usually the guys in the NHL, especially, who are the fighters, they know how to do it. They know the
okay.
rules, and the people that they do fight also know the rules so that nobody, I mean, yeah, you might get punched and you might get knocked out, but they're going to try to keep you from
It's still pretty
a severe injury.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because
in some way.
the hardest injury you're going to have in those fights is falling backwards and hitting the back of your head on the ice. Like, so there, you'll see guys fighting each other, and as they're going down, like 'cause somebody slipped or fell or got punched, you can see the guy that did it, like actually kind of trying to hold him back from falling down and cracking his head on the ice. Because none of the players want to see that. So
yeah, because that's fatal. That could be fatal.
yeah, it could be, if not fatal, at least a career ending for the player.
Yeah,
And these guys are there to make money, especially the guys that fight. They know that they're there on the team because they're a fighter. So they have to keep it within the rules. They are. Yeah, they get picked up and signed, not because they're great players, but because they're out there. They can go out there and fight. That's a whole different skill set.
So MMA fighters out there, if you want to go into hockey, there's another one for you. There's another sport you can.
Yeah, but it's almost entirely boxing type, right? Where you can grab the person and box them. You can't take them down or anything like that. You take them down, but then the fight's done and the crowd boos and it's like, dude. But there's a whole rhyme and reason of why there's fighting in hockey, and you would see fighting in other sports if they followed along the same pattern as the reasons why they fight in hockey. Because in hockey, you have skilled players and you have the goons and the bruisers, the guys who aren't that skilled but are big, strong, and can hit really hard. So you don't want the big, strong dudes hitting and taking out your smaller, faster, skilled dudes. Because the smaller, faster, skilled dudes are the ones that are scoring most of the goals.
Right.
Your Wayne Gretzky's type of thing. So Wayne Gretzky, a lot of people don't know, he had a player, a big bruiser, that would have to be on the same team as him, that followed him from team to team. Marty McSorley. Marty McSorley was this massive dude, would have dwarfed most football players. And I mean, he was good, he was okay, but his job was to protect Wayne Gretzky. So there is no Wayne Gretzky without a Marty McSorley. Marty McSorley allowed Wayne Gretzky to have that open ice and make sure that other players or players on the other team didn't take cheap shots on Wayne Gretzky, didn't slash him in the hands, or if they did, they knew that they were going to get beat up. Yeah, he had this Marty McSorley.
Right.
So in something like basketball or football, you have guys targeting the quarterback or targeting the receivers or stuff like that. It's like, imagine if they were allowed to fight. Like if you targeted the quarterback, we had a guy on our team that was allowed to now fight you and kick your ass. Would you still see that kind of? Maybe football's a bad analogy. Basketball maybe, but that's not too much of a contact sport. But baseball, you have a pitcher throwing a ball and hitting guys. What can the other team do? You have the umpires and everything trying to throw guys out, toss guys out, trying to keep everything sane. But imagine if there was a guy that could fight the pitcher. You hit our guy, we're gonna come out there and fight you.
The umpire's taking off his pads. Right. It's like, you know what? Screw this.
But vice versa, pitching in baseball, the other team would come back on and their pitcher's going to try to hit your star players too. So that kind of tapers it down. So that kind of violence where you're in baseball, you're throwing and intentionally hitting batters and stuff like that. That's kind of the same thing that hockey does with fighting.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's kind of a strategy, some kind of science. There's definitely
a strategy.
A science to,
Yes.
Oh my God.
It can hype your team up too. It can take another team down a notch if they're too, on fire.
That's true. I never thought about that. It could really slow down the pace of things.
There's a reason why it's there, and it's kept there, and the crowd loves it. If you've never been to a hockey game, go. Because those guys, we went to a Las Vegas Knights game, and there were no fights at that game, but it was just a really great party atmosphere inside the arena that I've never seen at any kind of professional venue before like that, where every time the play stopped, rave music would play, and you have these drummers and stuff, and it's just like party atmosphere. Golden Knights, they're in the playoffs right now. They're playing right now, I think.
Oh, okay. I know. I wanted to check out a Pittsburgh Penguins game because I'm a Steelers fan. So but they always talk about Steelers and the Pittsburgh Penguins, but not the Pirates, of course. The Pirates who? Yeah. Sorry for the Pirates, but the Penguins or the Steelers, and I always wanted to check out a Penguins game because I just hear it's crazy.
They are crazy, and the action is just constant. Football has its play, which is great 20 seconds, and then it kind of stops.
Yeah.
And then it's another great 20 seconds, and it kind of stops. Basketball, it's a back and forth. Yay, somebody dunks, everybody cheers, and then it's kind of quiet again. And it comes down to the last few minutes when everybody starts getting rowdy. Hockey's just rowdy almost the whole,
whole time.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, that's the thing about football. It's very like I know people say like it's a full contact sport, but the thing is it's good in like short like 20-second increments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, he got like a couple yards. Okay, yeah, okay, good, that's good. Right? But then there's some plays where the guy just breaks free and he passes 20 seconds and maybe it's a 40-second play, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's it's in short increments, and yeah, I always wanted to check out a Penguins game because I just hear it's like that.
Bucket
the whole
list,
time.
go do it.
Yeah.
Or maybe when if the Penguins ever go to Vegas, then you go to that game.
Yeah. And then I'll see some, I'll see some Penguins fans. They'll be like, "Oh, you guys are also Steelers fans?"
Well, that's the thing about Vegas. It's such a transient touristy place. Then when other teams come to the Vegas Golden Knights arena, there's a great amount of home team crowd there. Yeah, because they'll all travel to Vegas.
Yeah, because they just want to just party in Vegas the whole time.
That too. Yeah. I mean, it's not like going to a game in like Edmonton. Canada, I mean, you're only going to get Oilers fans for the most part there. So,
but that's
Vegas
true. Yeah,
Vegas was split.
Yeah, Vegas is a prime spot for a lot of different, which is interesting that they now they got their own football team now.
The Raiders,
right? The Raiders, and so now there's even more people coming into the city and really building it up. What do you think about So, like, I don't know if this is a topic you would be interested in, but like UFC. So I was hearing something from Dana White, right? He was talking about bringing MMA to Hawaii. UFC specifically, right? Because people keep talking about it, and they were trying to build a contract to have UFC come to Hawaii, and the Hawaii Commission says no, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that contract. But Bellator, another fighting promotion, which is rivaling UFC, is constantly putting events here in Hawaii. So, like, what do you think about like big, sports? Whatchamacallit, like
coming to Hawaii?
Yeah, like NFL. Like we used to have Pro Bowl, but
I grew up in the era of the Pro Bowl here in Hawaii, and we went. We had yearly tickets that we go to the Pro Bowl all the time. Right. So when they left, it was kind of devastating to a lot of people. It's like, this is our one game, our one NFL game that we can see.
Yeah.
And I was a big football fan back in the day when I was a little kid. But as far as all the other professional sports coming here, I mean, we have to realize we're a tiny drop in the bucket in the middle of the Pacific. So does it make money for these organizations to come here and put on a show? I don't know. That's one of the reasons the Pro Bowl left. It wasn't. I guess it was costing too much to fly players out here and do all this stuff and pay out Hawaii.
Yeah.
So they gladly moved it to Florida, regardless of what the players said or cared. I think we just have to be realistic and say, like, there's bigger places in the country and the world that can host all of these kinds of things, and people, it's just cheaper for the businesses to host it out there. It's easier access for a lot of people to get there. Yeah, Hawaii is a big touristy place to come and see, but Dana White's, nobody can say that he's stupid. Like, he is brilliant. He knows what he's doing. So if he says the contract's not good enough to bring the UFC here, it's just not. So as far as the other smaller ones coming in here, hey, Hawaii people love mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
We always have great fighters coming out of Hawaii, especially West Side and stuff. So I think,
shout out to Max.
Yeah, great job on that, Max.
Yeah, congrats to Max.
But I think we're still going to have to face the fact that we're going to have to export our fighters to the mainland to fight. We're not going to be able to import big, large professional venues here until maybe the new stadium will be fantastic and great. But still, even yet, we only have 1 million people here on Oahu. So, you're facing cities that have multiple millions of people. So,
and you can't count all million of people to actually go to those
Or
events.
not just to go, but to be interested in it, right?
So there's a percentage of it that
right.
may be interested in a specific sport or
Yeah.
something.
I mean, that's why UH games, football games, are just kind of
Yeah. There was
crowd-wise,
those,
we just don't have a lot of people.
yeah. I mean, there was those Colt Brennan days, right?
Yeah.
Where I remember going to those football games because they were hidden.
Yeah.
Like people, like it. The stadiums were pretty packed, you
Yeah.
know, back then. But then, especially now, it's not as popular. You know, there's not enough interest, and people don't really
I
attend as much.
I say UH might just do away with football altogether. I mean, when you find out and you see like how much like money we lose because of our football team, it's like, is the investment worth it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I like watching UH football, but
Yeah, the traveling, especially if you're paying, all those players to travel all to the mainland.
and the mainland teams that come to Hawaii, I didn't know UH pays for that.
Oh, really?
UH pays for the teams to come here.
What?
Yeah, I found that out. I was like, what are we doing? Like that's messed up.
They're paying.
We shouldn't be doing
They're
that.
paying teams to come and smash
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Sorry to UH football, but yeah, they're paying teams to come over here and.
I mean, I'm
smoke
not
us.
at UH. I may be wrong on that, but that's what I remember reading in like a Civil Beat article or some
That's
Star
insane.
Advertiser article years ago.
Oh my gosh.
That UH pays for the teams to come here. I was like, no, we should not be doing
and
that.
that money
We're
is
losing money.
distributed from state funding.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So our tax dollars are going to go to teams from the mainland just to come here to beat us
Yeah, and not fill the stadium. We'll see,
and not fill the stadiums.
it'd be a different story if we're filling the stadium all the time.
Oh,
We'd be like,
that's true.
oh, okay, we're selling tickets.
Yeah.
Great job, everybody. But we're not.
We're like the Cleveland Browns,
Oh god.
but we can't fill stadiums and we're getting smoked at the same time. Shout out to the
true.
Browns, man. Love that team. As a Steelers fan. I want to switch topics to talk about your podcast, Hawaii Real Podcast, because actually you haven't done an episode in a while.
Right. So I was doing the podcast, Hawaii Real Podcast, for 2 years, and I stopped. I think the last one I posted was about 10 months ago, 10 or 11 months ago. And at the time, I started getting hired to do video work, videography work, and that took up all my time, all my spare time on the side. So whereas the podcast would take up a lot of my free time, and now this whole new venture came in and people were actually paying me money to do work. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I started to get more jobs and more jobs. And then it started to be a consistent thing where I was like, well, okay, well, now I should probably follow the path of least resistance and go that direction instead of hammering the podcast and trying to make a name for myself or trying to get sponsors or trying to make some kind of minute income from the podcast. The videography thing just like took off, and I found that I was okay at it and I liked doing it, and so I could get better. I didn't mind learning more of it, and teaching myself to get a little better and a little better and a little better to the point where just, you know what, a month and a half ago, you came on to one of my shoots, and that was for, a pretty distinguished restaurant here. So.
Yeah, good food,
great food, great drinks,
great drinks.
Yeah.
And that wasn't when I was saying that, even though it was improv, I wasn't lying about it. Like they really do have good food and good drinks.
They do.
Prices are a little high sometimes, but
it's Waikiki.
It's Waikiki, and I mean the thing is, it's like it's crazy. I went to that restaurant a few times way before that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to actually go there and do a little thing with them, I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like I actually enjoy going there, so
Yeah.
that was easy for me to say yes to.
Yeah, so that kind of work just trumped doing a podcast. The podcast was great as far as meeting people and expanding my network, which I've always, well, not always, but I learned a good motto: your network is your net worth. So having a really good expanded network
I like that.
can really expand on how much you're worth as a person. Don't just look at the dollar amounts of a net worth, but it's also who you know and who you're influencing.
What made you start the podcast? Because for your regular job, you're a cop, but it's a different shift for yourself.
Well, a number of factors. I liked watching at the time London Real
Okay.
and the Joe Rogan podcast, of course. And I like that one-on-one podcast interaction, kind of like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of a real conversation, not structured necessarily or scripted, definitely not scripted. And I looked around in Hawaii for a podcast that I could watch that was similar to what I was watching on YouTube with these these brands in the mainland. Didn't find anything. There's nothing that really stuck it out. So of course I figured, hey, if I really want to watch something like this and it doesn't exist here, we'll go ahead and create it.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those days where I think what it was, I was thinking about doing it, talking to other people and saying, hey, is this a good idea? What do you think? I'm thinking about doing a podcast. What do you think? My kids go to Punahou, and we have received like the annual magazine or something from Punahou that kind of shows what all these people are doing that have graduated, all alumni, and what the students are currently doing. It's just a magazine you get in the mail every year.
Yeah.
So I was talking with family and stuff in the living room, and the magazine came, and I never look at these magazines because they don't really interest me that much. I happened to open this one, and as I'm talking to the family members, just shooting the shit,
Just
I'm
casual,
fingering through the magazine, not even really looking at the magazine, and then I open it up fully and stop on one page, and my fingers are doing this automatically, just kind of blah, 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 blah. And I look down, and it's an article on Punahou starting a podcast. And that, for me, I never see things as a coincidence. I always see them as a sign. So I do say, hey, there's no such thing as coincidences. So whether it's the energy of the planet or the universe or whatever,
people, right?
That's what happened right there, and that made me decide, oh my God, do it. Like, this is a sign to say, go ahead and do it. And it was a good, successful thing. And I know when I first started it, I talked to a couple of my friends, and they asked me, what would be your end goal? Like, who would be the end goal guest that you want to have on your podcast? So I thought about it. The governor at the time was like, not a fan of him. So I thought, probably,
Shout outs to him.
yeah, shout outs to the old governor. This was a couple years ago. So I thought, if I had the mayor on, whoever the mayor is at the time, I think that'd be good. I think I'd plant my flag and say, hey, this was successful. I built this up to the point where I could reach out to the mayor's team and convince them to have them come onto my show.
Yeah. Interesting.
And about a year ago now, that happened.
Right.
I had Mayor Blangiardi on, and I think I had maybe 4 or 5 more episodes after that, and that's when it kind of tapered off.
That's amazing, though. I mean, like, you set forth a goal for yourself for that, and then it just happened.
Yeah, it comes to fruition.
Manifested. Yeah.
A lot of manifestation, an insane amount of manifestation. I never see things in coincidences. Like Kale getting you to come to my shoot. That's not a coincidence, right? That's a sign. So
that true. Honestly, that was definitely a sign.
Yeah, so that's my mindset with a lot of things, and I think that's why I love Star Wars so much too, because that kind of plays into the whole role of like the Force is in control of everything, right? These things happen for a reason, blah blah blah. But I think if you look at life like that, you start to see that that's how the universe works. It shows things in front of you, and it's up to you to see it. It's up to you to follow it or not.
Right.
If it shows you something dangerous, don't go there.
Right.
If it shows you something, a path of least resistance, it says, hey, you should do this. Okay, do it.
Yeah, there would be times where, I'd manifest something, right? And thinking it's a good opportunity, right? Especially with jobs, actually. Yeah. And I'd think like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me. And then it ends up being something that I'm like, this isn't for me. But the thing is, it's like, the thing after that, whenever I get a job after that, it's like, oh wow, this is what I was looking for.
Right.
But then I had to go through this job, which wasn't really for me, in order to get here.
Right.
And you know,
it's your path.
Yeah.
And however hard or rocky the path is, you have to do it.
Right. And there's certain things like I'll look at it and be, you know, people will be like, wow, it's a great opportunity. And I'll look at it and be like, that's not the one that I should go to. You know, like there's some like opportunities I'll say, like, or even sponsorships. I'll be like, oh, that looks really good, but that's not what I'm going to go for. Right. It's the thing that's going to come after it. I think that's the thing that's going to be even greater. So like, I'll tell my friends that too, like, don't ever take like every single opportunity because some are not for you at that point. But who knows? Maybe you have to take some good opportunities in order to set yourself for something even greater, too.
Right. You really have to introspect and look at what you want.
Right.
And what is your brain asking the universe for? Because you will get all these opportunities in front of you, but what is, like, for you, what does Gavin want?
Right.
If Gavin wants something, but this opportunity comes and that's not what Gavin wants, then that's not necessarily the opportunity for you, even though they're coming at you. You know, you may just be a pawn in that energy of whatever that opportunity is, and it just has to move on from you to move on to someone else. So
yeah, that could be exactly. That could be someone else's opportunity.
Right.
But it just so happens that me and another person had similar, you know, things we were manifesting at the same time. Right. It's just being able to recognize, you know, knowing yourself and knowing what's good to keep and what's good to pass on. That's a huge thing. I think a lot of like that takes a lot of, you know, thinking power, knowing yourself as well, because if you don't know yourself too well, then you might just take on everything.
You might. Yeah. So I mean, there's some opportunities that are good and there's some that aren't, but I think for the most part, you have to look at what is your end goal in life, and does whatever that opportunity present itself, does that lend its hand to you achieving that goal?
Yeah.
Most people's goal is like, hey, I just want to be happy and not have to work so much. Like that's a pretty lofty goal.
Yeah.
But then again, if you love what you're doing, it never seems like you're working a day. So,
yeah, let's talk about so Hawaii Rio Studios now, because that's something that's your current goal. You know, you're really building it, and I think you're doing a great job. I see your shots on IG. Like, your photography work is amazing. Your videography work is amazing. I think the editing is really good. You know, I think you found something that's really, you know.
And I love doing
really
it.
Yeah.
You know, even photography. I know I'm not the best photographer, not the most experienced photographer, but I love doing it. And
yeah, it's fun.
It's not insanely difficult when you start doing it and just doing it more and more and more and more and more. Because you're going to fail. You're going to take really crappy shots. And with digital cameras now, you can take, like, some of these shoots, I'll take like 400 pictures, and I'll use and show only like 20. You know, it's like, what happened to all the other 300 some odd pictures? Well, they sucked.
They're in the void. Don't worry about them.
I deleted them. They sucked. So, you know, when you see a photographer, for instance, or you have, you know, if you know anybody or anybody listening that wants to get into photography, you have to just start and take pictures and realize that the very few pictures you do see online that other photographers post, there's hundreds that they trashed. So recognize that. You know, I was teaching my sons the ins and outs of my cameras and stuff, and I took them out to Iolani Palace and the Kamehameha statue, and you know, just kind of let them have free reign on taking pictures. And immediately they were wanting to take that one perfect picture. And they didn't want to snap a picture unless they got it right in frame, or they would take a picture and they would show it to me. I'm like, guys, take like 100 pictures right now. You don't know. Just take 100 different types of pictures, and then we'll go back and look at them, and you'll find which ones worked. And then if you repeat that process over and over again, then you start to whittle down all the stuff that didn't work and all the shots that you took that didn't work, and you start to whittle those out, and you stop taking those and become more efficient in taking the pictures.
Right. Yeah, the quality of your work becomes better, and then when you actually then when you take those 100 pictures, actually almost all 100 could be really good. You never know.
Right.
When-
Well, you
once
also you also stop taking so many pictures too.
True.
After a while, you start to know what looks good and what lighting works and what doesn't work, and so.
Yeah.
But it's just practice. Just get out there and do it.
Yeah. Trial and error.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can start with your phone. Like people don't realize you don't need like an expensive DSLR camera necessarily to start. Just start with your phone. And there's a lot of influencers and photographers that only work on their phone. So.
Yep. There's one YouTuber, bigger YouTuber that I know, and she did a whole like vlog. She's a food vlogger, right? She does like mukbangs, so she just eats a bunch of food. She's a competitive eater, very tiny lady actually, and she did a whole thing with just her phone.
Yeah.
You know, and we were at a barbecue. She just did it with her phone,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, it's crazy. You know what I mean? But like, I think technology has come to the point where phones can really rival some DSLRs and really can do that, especially iPhone.
Yes and no, because as advanced as the iPhones are becoming, or the Android phones, as advanced as those things are becoming, the bigger cameras, the Sonys, the Canons, they're implementing a lot of that same technology, and they're just, and they can be a much larger device, so they're able to pack in more stuff. Plus, you have all the lenses. You know, the lenses on these DSLR cameras will wipe the floor of any cell phone camera. I don't care. When you can really see, especially when you're looking closely at some of the cell phone pics, you can tell that the blurred out background is actually like digitally blurred. So that's not the same as a glass lens blurring out the background, giving that bokeh effect.
Yeah.
You know, they'll still have that, and digital cameras haven't gotten to the point where they can do that. And I think as digital cameras in phones get better and better and better, the larger DSLR type cameras are going to continue to get better. Sony's coming out with a brand new camera that has a lot of AI stuff inside of it. Yeah. The Sony ZFE1 or something like that. EF1. But that's coming out next month. And it's going to lay the foundation for all the next generations of DSLR type cameras to come out. It's got AI stuff into it that none of these other cameras have. It's gonna kick ass.
So what kind of what brand of camera would you say is like is Sony your favorite?
I love Sony's.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's because I've only used I used Nikons before, and I think the Nikons are just lower end, cheaper, entry level type things, and yeah, they do have their more expensive ones. But once you get into a Sony, and especially with the E-mount system where you can use the lenses, all the different lenses that Sony makes on all their different cameras, you know, that's a great capability to have. But Sonys and Canons they're both really good.
Yeah.
You know, I got a friend that uses Canons, and his photography is amazing. So as far as which one to buy, it's like,
yeah,
I don't have a recommendation. I mean, I would recommend Sony's just because I have them.
Yeah, even us too. I mean, we've had Canons and Sonys, but of course we're using Sonys now.
Yeah.
You know, strictly. We still have the Canon as well. Well, actually, no, we lend it to a friend, I think. But yeah, I mean, we primarily use Sonys, and they're beautiful. Actually, when we were using Canons, you know, I thought that was like really good, and I still think a lot of them are really good. But then something about Sony cameras, I think, are just their stabilization's really good. They're built very, very well. Like I don't know, like the quality of it just feels a lot better, and especially when you're holding it. I don't know why it just feels a lot better.
It does.
So
It does. It definitely does. And like the stabilization thing, like this new camera coming out from Sony has got this insane in-body stabilization that rivals some gimbals. You know, there's reviewers out there on YouTube showing like, well, this is just me walking with it, and it's not shaking at all. I was like, what? It's insane.
if soon you're gonna just get a guy just going like this with the camera.
Yeah.
He's like, oh wow, is this not moving?
Well, like the GoPro stabilization is insane.
Yeah.
Like I mean, as bumpy as you can be with a helmet mounted camera, like a GoPro, and then you watch the footage, it's just buttery smooth. It's like, wow. Okay. That's impressive. But that's the direction of a lot of cameras are going to go too. So
yeah. Definitely.
A lot of the things with gimbals, a lot of work with gimbals are gonna phase out over the next 5-10 years as stabilization becomes just the norm. You see even real estate videos where people are using drones and flying the drone in through the house, and you can get corners and angles that you just can't get with a camera on a gimbal. Yeah, and it's much smoother than a gimbal will ever be. So.
What's your favorite type of like so you know like there's different jobs, especially like funerals, there's also weddings. You told me about weddings, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to do what kind of jobs?
Yeah,
I
what
think
kind of jobs would be your favorite, I guess?
so I've done a wedding, I've done several funerals and restaurant and some corporate training type intro videos. I think the restaurant one was the most fun. And I would do that again for the excitement and the creative realm that you have with that and making it your own. You know, yes, they gave me kind of templates of what they wanted included into it. And that's always fun too, because you can make it what you want, but you can also take inspiration from other videos and just say, oh, you want that? I can do that video, but better. You know, I like doing that too. Like, I like it when a customer can just show me what kind of video that they've liked and say, hey, can you do something like this? So, oh, absolutely. That's a lot easier to reproduce. Now I'm not having to think so much about what they want. If they can just show me what they want, then I can duplicate that or make it in the style of that. So
yeah, you could recreate something.
Yeah. So that's always better from a videography point of view. It's like to just have something, the customer just tell you what they want, you know, as opposed to some of them where, hey, just show up and film and then give us a thing after, a video after. It's like, you know, you go to an event and they just want you to film the event and then give them a finished product a couple weeks later. It's like, well, you're not giving me any kind of direction or anything. It's like, well, we don't really know any direction. It's like, okay. So I've done some of those, and those are harder because you're trying to please the customer. So I guess it's also knowing the customer. Like, are they going to be easy to please, or are they going to be tough to please? So,
yeah, Kelsey used to do videography work too, and the thing that she found the hardest thing was, people don't know what they really want.
yeah.
You know, so like she'll create something and they'll go, oh yeah, you know, like she'll tell them you get like a couple revisions, right, or something like that. And the thing is, what kind of video do you want? They're like, oh, just film something, not knowing like, oh, we want you to film all 6 hours of you know, one event or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's a completely different story. You know what I mean? You got to get camcorders can do that. You know what I'm saying? But not like a DSLR. You know, that's a different kind of video. So, so there was one job in particular I'm thinking of it, and they were doing it for a fundraiser, and they wanted the whole thing. Like it must have been like 5 hours or something like that, and it's insane because. I'm like, first of all, who's going to watch something for 5 hours?
Nobody.
Especially if you're going to distribute it to the... Like, if a family member gave me, like, oh, you want to watch a 5 hour film? I'm not going to... No. I didn't even watch Justice League for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Why am I going to watch this 5 hour fundraiser film? You know?
The Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh, that was a good one. I highly recommend that one.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that just because I was like, I really gotta figure out time to like sit down and watch all 4 hours.
It was like Lord of the Rings extended versions too, right? It's like 4 hour films.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, if I already have a hard time figuring out when I'm gonna watch that, how am I gonna watch 5 hours of a fundraiser?
Right. So it's all about like, hey, there's gonna be a highlight video for this event or that event. You know, no, it's not possible to film the whole thing. I can produce like a 5-minute video for you and just scrunch everything into there for your clients. So I think one of the questions I ask the clients is, what problem are you looking to solve with this video? You know, are you just looking to show something? Okay, what is that showing going to do? Are you looking to maybe hire more people? Are you looking to train people? Are you looking to convince customers to come and buy your product or come to your restaurant? Like, what are you looking to solve with this specific video? And from there we can kind of go on and really try to narrow down what their problem is that they're trying to solve, and how a video can improve their quality, of their product that they serve. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's good. That's good points to really cover, because once you kind of figure out what they really want, or what they really want to see the end product, then it's like you can tell them that it's feasible or it's not feasible.
Right.
It's
like, it's not feasible to film for 5 hours and then produce that. It's like, no, talking about the memory alone. For that would just be insane.
Not the sound check. I don't want to see the sound check for or I don't want to see the after, when everybody's done, like let's say for a funeral, right? And then after that, everybody just talking story on the side, and you're just getting this one image of just people just saying goodbye to each other. It's like, no, I don't want to see that.
Yeah. But you also tell them, this is based on my time coming there to the film. So even we're just charging for the hour, but the end product after the editing and putting it all together for you guys, I have to charge also by the length of the project too. So if it's going to be 5 hours of project, that I'm going to have to use my computers and everything to render and upload, and then spend my time editing everything. You're looking at tens of thousands of dollars. Oh no, that's not what we want. Okay, what do you want? What is your budget? Oh, our budget's $500. Okay. I can do some pictures for you.
1 minute, 1 minute video, 1 minute highlight video. You can put as a reel right there.
And that's another problem that a lot of clients, potential clients and stuff, maybe don't have, is they don't realize what goes into creating a video. All the setup, the planning ahead of time. It's not just you show up, film, and you leave, and all of a sudden, magic wand,
right?
The film is done. Completely edited, graded, audio is fine and everything. The music is chosen and the music is playing and it's all edited to the music. It's like, no, that takes the most time. Like filming it doesn't take nearly as much time as editing it and putting it all together. That's where the time really comes in. The hard work really comes in.
Yeah, especially if it's you have like 2 hours of footage and you're trying to cut it down to 30 seconds. That's super hard.
Oh, the shorter the video, the harder it is, because you're trying to really squish so much, especially if it's a lot of shots that they want condensed into like a 1 minute or 30-second thing. It's like, whoa, okay, hold on. If it's just 30 seconds or 1 minute, it's like, let's just focus on what important message you want to get out. And just go from there.
Then you can really be like, okay, so I'm only going to film a total of an hour or something in specific spots, not 2 hours of a whole event then. All right. And then you got to worry about like another thing we worry about too is like storage space, right? Because like some of these videos, I mean, especially like DSLRs, everything, they take a big amount of space, especially for gigabytes. So it's like managing that storage space. Like if you're doing like 3 hour, 4 hour videos, right? And you're trying to condense it down, then the editing program also stores some of that footage, and that takes up memory, and it's like,
because even a wedding could go well into 3, 4, or 5 hours of filming. So you do have to have the memory space for that, which is not just your generic SD card that you buy at Walmart. You gotta have, especially for 4K, you gotta have good quality stuff that's not gonna fail you. So that when you do record it, it comes back when you plug it into your computer. Because that could be completely detrimental to a business if you record their whole wedding and then you go to your computer and it's like, the SD card's not working.
And SSD drives are not, they're not cheap. I mean, like to get, like, we have like terabyte SSD drives, and they weren't cheap to get, but it's like, luckily, I mean, there's companies that really made, like Samsung has made, good SSD drives that are terabytes of memory, but it's still like, it's not cheap to just kind of get one and use it for a project. You know what I mean? Like,
so that's why photographers and videographers charge what they charge. And sometimes when I see videographers or photographers charging so little, I kind of cringe. I'm like, guys, you're holding everybody else, all the other photographers down too. Like, we know that you can't charge like $100 for a photo shoot. Like, that's not sustainable for anybody as like a lifestyle. You're gonna have to do 6 of those a day, all the time. So Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
Yeah, it's like and as a customer, you get what you pay for a lot of times. So
okay, so first off, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for talking story with us. This was a good conversation. We got a lot of stuff down, but we actually have some stuff that we could still talk about. Stuff we didn't even
it's
get
so fun to come and talk to you, man, all the time. Yeah, and we just get going on tangents, and I like that.
Especially, and I mean, we didn't even get to talk about your patents over here. We didn't even get to talk about some of your stuff for your criminal justice degree. So
it's all boring stuff.
No, it's all interesting. We'll have to save that for another time. But first off, how can people find you on like social media and everything?
So Facebook, just Ioane Keehu, and I'm on Instagram, Hawaii Real Studios, Hawaii.real.studios on Instagram, and YouTube channel, Hawaii Real Studios, website, hawaiirealstudios.com. Is that everything? TikTok. I'm on there a little bit, Hawaii Real Studios. But yeah, everything is Hawaii Real Studios. And it's real, like, real life, like REAL. I've had some guys like, oh, is it REEL? Like, do you do fishing stuff? It's like, no, dude, not Hawaii Real.
Well, I mean, I guess people can get that mixed up because you like IG Reels.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Because that's how I would have interpreted it, especially now, but not maybe like Hawaii fishing reels.
We'll start a new company, Hawaii Reels.
Hawaii Reels. Hey, yeah, and they're shorter. Oh, you don't have to credit me for that. Yeah, you can just think that.
I can't even make good reels. So
we'll change that. But I just want to say thank you for coming on the show again and talking your story. And dude, definitely. I mean, we're going to see you again next week anyway. So
and then how's this episode? It's just like Star Wars, hockey, podcasting,
and then we got into
videography, all over the place. Right. Love it.
But it's good. I mean, that's how podcasts work. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Definitely.
That's how my brain is too. It's just like I'm never on like one thing. I'm just like on 5 different freaking things.
All right, Io. So now that we got sake over here,
let's do it.
Yeah. Here's to you, and here's to Hawaii Real Studios. Hawaii Real, as in REAL, but in the future,
may be Hawaii Reels.
It could be
one
Hawaii
of these
Reels
days,
well.
or that's a separate thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, here's to your success and as a videographer and hopefully, coming back to podcasting if it comes back to it. You know what I mean? Or
it made to have that. Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit, man.
Sky's the limit. Kampai.
Kampai!